Hi there, this is Raven Dana with Walking Between the Worlds, and thank you for tuning in today. This is Class 1 on spirit animals. So, this is the first of a 4-part series, and we're going to explore all kinds of different ways to relate to animals in our environment, animals that we would consider to be totem animals or spirit animals, energies of the energies of the animal worlds that are different for each species. You know, throughout history, we've had very intimate relationships with animals. The idea of spirit animals is not new. It's not a new age thing. It's a very old thing. We can consider that in every species there's what we'll call maybe an oversoul or a deep unconscious. And just as humans are connected in an unconscious way, the species of animals are interconnected. The animals within a species are interconnected as well. So different species, of course, have different strengths, different skills, different powers. And throughout history, we have lent ourselves to the development of relationships with those animals in order to take on or utilize their skills, their powers, their strengths. Sometimes we would be sent out on a journey into the woods to see what animal would come to us during our 3 days out there, and that would become part of our name or part of our special talent. We have created dances about animals. Animals and our relationship with them have been drawn on cave walls. We've dressed like them to take on their powers. We've acted like them to call up their skills. We've been marked by them during rituals. Someone that's been slashed by a bear or slashed by a tiger and survived has been often said to have the spirit of that animal as a protector. Back when we were actually killing animals for food rather than shopping in a grocery store, we also had a much more spiritual relationship with animals. It was very intimate. It's very intimate to see an animal and have to kill it for food. So again, you're not only eating the animal, you're also taking in the strength and the powers and the skills of that animal. Right? So it's something much more than, you look up, spirit animal, I dreamed about a tiger and it means this. So I don't want you to think that. I want you to give yourself the opportunity during this class to deeply investigate your relationships to the animals that have been in your life, to the animals that show up in your physical environment, and to those who turn up in your dreams. It's not ever as simple as reading a statement in a book or, lions are for courage. No, it's much more complex than that and much more personal than that. So in very much the same way that I have said never rely on dream interpretation to tell you what your dreams are about, I'm going to say the same thing here. I'm going to give you some guidelines. And there's no one way to investigate what the spirit of an animal or what an actual animal is bringing to you until you sit with it, investigate it, be with it, and allow yourself to receive that information. And it's fine to look at different cultures and what the animals mean and how they show up. That will help to inform you. The more information you have about how a species relates, what their strengths are, what their diet habits are, what the environment that they live in, the more that you know about that stuff when an animal shows up on your radar, the more informed you are with regards to having a clue about what that animal or the energy of that spirit animal might be bringing to you. Is it a skill that you need? Is it a warning to heed? Is this animal protecting you, this spirit protecting you from something? What's going on in there, right? And it means you'll have to explore it. I mean, we have been visited by winged and four-footed animal relatives throughout history. They've bestowed on us all kinds of things. And even in modern times, they're messengers, they're dream ambassadors, they're even housemates, right? We share our food and our beds with our animals. But as kids, typically, we've had special relationships with animals. We either longed for a pet that we didn't have, or doted on a goldfish as it swam around in its bowl, or even without a living animal in our environment. Most of us have had teddy bears, and most of us have had stuffed animals, and some have had the same kind of stuffed animal over and over and over again because we have an affinity for that animal. So think about that. Think about in your childhood if you had a teddy bear. If so, how were you with that bear? Was it important to you? Did you drag it around? Did you sleep with it? Did you sleep better when you had it? Did you feel like it kept away the bad things? And if not a teddy bear, what did you have? Did you have a bunny? Did you have a giraffe? Did you have a wolf? What did you have? So my granddaughter, for example, has a collection of wolves that she sleeps with. She started out with Wolfie, a tiny little wolf, and then as she got older, she's 8 now, she's about to turn 9. As she got older, she got a mama wolf and a daddy wolf, 2 larger, they're not very much larger, but now she has a whole family of wolves that she sleeps with. So that has a particular affinity for her. And yes, she does run outside and howl at the moon during the full moon. So she's, again, that's, for right now at least, that is one of her spirit animals. So see what's there for you. What do you remember from childhood? What can you bring back? Think about also your culture and your family history. To some people, for example, a bird in the house might be a messenger that means there's some good news coming. For a different culture, a bird in the house might be a harbinger of death. That's how it was in my house. If there was a bird in the house, my grandmother would say, so we're going to hear of a death. And we did, and we would. We didn't get birds in the house very often, but when it happened, that was what she understood the message to be, and that is what it was for her, okay? So what this class really offers is a way to establish and to reestablish connections with the animal spirits in our lives and the animals that we are connected to. We'll invite them in our dreams. We'll do some journeying. We'll see how they show up physically around us, actual animals in our environment, and we will develop ways of communicating with our spirit animals, with the spirits of animals, both in the imaginative realm and in our dreams, and also with the spirits of animals as they show up in our world. Maybe you're the kind of person that when there's when you're missing someone, a cardinal will show up or a sparrow will arrive. Maybe you're the person that when you're having a hard day, an eagle will fly over or a hawk will fly by. Maybe when you're trying to make a decision, you find a feather. So whatever your relationship happens to be to the animals in your actual environment, that's still part of the spirit animal conversation, because that energy, or we'll call it the oversoul, or the deep unconscious of that animal species, is connecting to you for some reason, or you're connecting to it for some reason, or to them. All right, so there's something there, there's a communication there that you want to honor. So when you do come across an animal that's meaningful to you, don't ignore it. Don't just go, oh, that happened today. Give it a little honor. You know, if you have an animal that regularly shows up for you, get a little statue or a little plastic animal from the dollar store, right? Like you would for a kid, and put it on your desk. Give it a rightful place. Give it a space in which you can honor it and allow yourself to feel lucky that that animal actually connects with you in some way, gives you some memo, gives you a message, shows up when you need it to, right? So I'm going to encourage you to do things like that as we go. Now, we will explore the energy of all different kinds of animals. We're going to look at bears and snakes and cows and crocodiles, and we're going to spend a whole week on birds. If there is a particular animal that you have an affinity to, please message me, and I'll be sure that it gets into the body of the class, okay? And, you know, into like, what do we mean really by spirit animals? Well, Again, it's that kind of collective unconscious of the animal species itself that's often bigger and broader and deeper than any sentence you could read about a spirit animal in a book, right? So lions, for example, oh, it's courage, it's this. Well, it's way more than that. Look at how the animal lives. Look at what they eat. Look at their environment. And if you are aligned with a particular animal, eat something that they eat. Do something that they do. Feel that animal move through you. See what information is there for you. See what you might be getting called to notice or to see or to do differently. So again, for each of us, in each one of these circumstances, the information will be more unique to us, even though it may have a generalized component to it. I don't want you to stop with, oh, it's about this, okay? I want you to go deeper and cultivate your connection to the animal species and perhaps to the animal itself if it happens to show up in your environment. Okay, so why do some of them show up like that? How is it that they come into our lives and into our dreams, How do we get a bird to drop a feather into our lap and, on another day that bird's going to poop on our car? What's that about? Well, they may come as a messenger. They may come as a symbol of protection. They may come as a message to do something differently, or the result of a long-standing relationship that you may not know about that exists through your family line. Right? There may be something going on with a particular animal that you don't even know about, except that you dream about a certain animal or have it on your mind. So talk about it. If you have family members, bring it up. If you have a memory as a child of having an invisible animal friend, just sit with that for a minute. Or maybe there's a soul lesson that we have to learn about something, and that animal energy is bringing that to your attention. So it could be guiding us along a path, goading us forward, trying to get our attention, trying to tell us to pay more attention to our environments. Probably the biggest thing about spirit animals is that they're going to carry the energy of instinct and intuition to a higher level than we generally allow ourselves to notice it, because we get overly focused on intellect and linear thinking. And when we do that, we miss things. And we also repeat patterns that aren't especially useful to us. So oftentimes, the appearance of an animal or a spirit animal in our dreams or in our meditative states is a memo that has to do with their particular skills and talents. That's a calling to us to wake up, to come out of our mind and be restored as the sacred animals that we are. Okay, we're trying to get our own attention through our relationships with the other animals, because we are animals, with the other animals in the animal kingdom, our relations. Okay, so we must use, observation, intuition, investigation, and communication as our tools. So again, as we go through this, observation, intuition, investigation, and communication, those are the 4 tools that we will use as we play in this arena with animals. And we'll develop all of those skills in this 4-week program. So when you were a kid, did you have an animal that you were drawn to? Like, did you watch Lassie, or was it My Friend Flicka? Did you have a relationship with a teddy bear? Did you have an animal, or even a scary animal, that showed up in your dreams? Because that's all relevant to this conversation. Were you ever afraid of them, right? I had a Lassie. I didn't particularly like the show, but I did have a Lassie dog that I dragged around on a string for a while, and I was about 5, except that in my mind, it was not Lassie, it was not a dog, it was a lion. It was a lion. So I had this Lassie dog that I had converted into a lion that I took with me and dragged around on a leash. And I imagined that we were in all kinds of places, and that basically it protected me. I can remember putting that dog between me and other things when I felt afraid. And so I did that for a while and then forgot about it. At some point when I was in my 50s, I had the most powerful dream of walking along in this beautiful place and walking into these huts, surrounded by and walking with a pride of lions. And they were red-maned lions. They were red. And I was like, oh, these look just like Lassie, right? The coloring was like Lassie, except that the red of their manes ended in black tips. They were dark on the ends. So after that dream, it was a lovely dream, and I felt great as part of their pride. And when I woke up, I looked up those lions, and I discovered some things. That first of all, that red-maned lion is rare. It's an Asiatic lion. And the coloring of the mane has to do with the strength and power of the animal, that the darker the mane, the more powerful the animal. And I thought, well, that made sense to me, that as a kid, I not only converted Lassie into a lion, but into a lion with a red mane, because I wanted this strong level of protection. So it was very interesting and cool and powerful when in my 50s, I put A and B together and saw what my mind was doing back when I was 5 years old. And again, what conscious awareness did I have of lions? Well, zip, right? So the lion spirit animal not only represents courage and strength and overcoming, and that's kind of the usual party line you're given, but also the presence of an animal like a lion has to do with the wild within you, and with the difficulties of being in the wild and maintaining control. As such, lions can also symbolize emotions that are difficult to manage. And they can also represent being in difficult situations. Lions can represent having to, how can I say this? Allowing yourself to use your anger in a way to create boundaries, right? To utilize your roar in order to set a good boundary. So there are things like that, again, I couldn't do that when I was 5, but I certainly did that fine by the time I was 50. It's just fascinating. It's interesting. So I'd like you to just play with that, investigate, see what occurs. See what occurs as you explore that. All right, let's talk a little bit about bears. In some cultures, bears are seen as the protectors of the innocent. There's even a little song, "Don't cry, little one, don't cry, little one. The bear is coming to dance for you. The bear is coming to dance for you." Right? So the bear as a protector is a very powerful and potent symbol. And I love that thought of the bear as the protector, and that the teddy bear as the symbol of a big protective mama bear, right? Like I said, many of us had teddy bears and carried them around and put them in our beds, and sometimes even as adults. I have a teddy bear now that my daughter gave to me a number of years ago, that had a little recording in it of her voice that said, "I love you, Mom," which is awesome. All right. Bear energy typically is not just protective. It's also healing. It often represents the healing energy, the time of going inside or going in the cave or going within and allowing yourself to restructure, to restore, to heal. So again, don't get caught thinking that the bear energy or that a teddy bear is just a tool or a crutch for a child to put between her and her fear, or her fear of the dark, right? It's way more than that. There's an artist, and her name is Laura, L-O-R-A, Laura Zombie, Z-O-M-B-I-E, Laura Zombie. And she's done this beautiful painting of a bear, which I think I have. I do. So look at that bear and look at that little girl. I think it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I highly recommend that if you like that image or other images like that you think you might enjoy, go find her website. She has her prints for sale and they're beautiful. That's another thing that you could do. That little bear, or that whatever that was, little animal that you had an affinity for as a child, You can get a picture, or you can print something to color and you can color it, and that can help you to begin that process of restoring that connection or honoring that animal, even if it's no longer part of your animal vocabulary in your adult life. It might just be a way to say thank you. If right, it might be a great way to say thank you and to open the gate to other animals that might be present to you and be bringing information and energy to you that you might not be completely aware of. So it's a good way to get the process started. So the bear is, the bear is an awe-inspiring creature. It's firmly grounded in the earth, right? It not just because it lives in the forest, but because it goes into the cave and hibernates. It's protective, it's wild, it's healing, it's mother bear, right? It represents also the untamed primal force and the raw, unbridled energy of nature. So oftentimes the bear is a reminder to let our instinct rise, to let our intuition rise. That the bear is also a guide to our dormant intellectual and emotional resources, right? That we are wild in nature, but we're also gentle, right? The bear is not something to be feared. I don't know about you, but I've seen plenty of bears in nature. I have a friend that lives in an area that's pretty much loaded with bears. And, I'm not going to go up and poke a bear, but I'm also I don't have a jolt of adrenaline when I see one. What I have is awe and wonder. I feel connected to the bears, to the world of bears. I think they're gorgeous animals and important and powerful. So whatever, I'm not suggesting you go take yourself in the woods to find bears. I'm not. I'm just saying that your relationship to any one of these animals is uniquely yours, and there will be messages and information and memos for you there. So bears are so common in other cultures. I want you to take a look at just because it seems to be something that is shared by many, many children. I'd like you to take a look at bears and how they show up in our lives. If you look up bear energy or a bear totem, what does that mean to you? If you look at some pictures of bears, how does that feel for you? Just start that process of getting in touch with that, the energetic matrix of the species we call bear. You can even look up in the sky and see, the bear in the sky. So whatever works for you, get started there. One more animal we're going to take a look at today is the fox. The fox is often known as the trickster, and if the fox shows up, I don't know if you've ever seen a fox up close and personal. They're so interesting. To me, they seem to be some sort of strange blend between cats and dogs. But they're very intelligent and interesting. So again, it's not as simple as the fox means a trickster. That's certainly part of what it means. Foxes are also very alert. They're hyper aware. They're really tuned into their environment. So the fox, even though it's associated with a trickster, it can also be a teacher telling us, pay attention, notice your environment, learn how to navigate this obstacle differently. If you follow the fox, you may be able to develop a little bit of ability to think more clearly or to think more critically. The fox may be telling you, may be bringing you that gift of noticing before you step forward, of awareness before you say yes, before you act. It might be a memo that something or somebody in your environment isn't all they're cracked up to be. So it might be about being a trickster. And it could be the opposite. It could be that something that looks like it's a deficit ends up being a boon, right? So just pay attention that, it could be warning or trickery, but it could also be something, a message for you about having better discernment. So sit with the energy of that fox if she turns up in your life. If you see a fox, dream of a fox. If somebody sends you a card of a fox, right? If fox shows up for you today, see what she's telling you. See what's there for you. Because that's the way, again, you begin to move along those communication lines. All right, Here's your assignment for this week. Oh, and by the way, I am going to post a meditation for this week, but I will do it separately so you don't have to listen to the whole conversation to get to the meditation. It will go up separately this evening. But here's your assignment. To remember any affinity for an animal that you have and honor that in some way. So, again, you could draw it, you could color it, you could go buy a little plastic animal, you can do whatever makes sense to you. And then to invite either that animal or some animal that you wish to connect with, the spirit of that animal, invite that animal to come to your dreams. So just set it out there before you go to sleep as an invitation. I'm willing to remember, I would like to have an experience with one of my spirit animals, and I'm willing to remember it. Do that a couple nights in a row, see what happens, and write down whatever shows up. Be sure to write it down or you will lose pieces of the puzzle. Okay. Observe nature and see what animals cross your path. Are you the person that always goes down the street right when the deer come out? Do you see the deer everywhere? Are you the person that goes for a walk and you see the bunny hop across your path? Do you go outside and see sparrows? Do you go for a hike and run into skunk? What is it that shows up for you? So take a look, see what that is. And finally, the animals that really give you a little thrill, a little frisson of energy, a little ping, I'd like you to look them up. See what their habitats are, see what their diet is like, see what their strengths and weaknesses in nature are. Not just some line out of a book. Look up the actual animal and see what they're known for, because that's going to inform you. And then we'll take the process deeper from there. We're going to spend a whole week on birds. So if you have some affinity for a particular kind of bird, let me know. We'll cover it. You know, it'll be in that class, because we have a lot of different things that go on with birds, both good news and not so great news. So we'll take a look at all of those connections, or as many as we can fit into a class. All right, I've rambled on enough today. I hope you enjoy your week as you get more familiarized with your connections, with your animal relations, with the spirit animals in your dreaming and in your deeper life, and as you invite them to come back from your childhood and make themselves known to you again. Have a wonderful evening, and I will put up a meditation later on today. Thanks for tuning in to week 1 of the class on spirit animals, and I hope to see you soon.